Justice League Unlimited's Epilogue may be one of the most divisive episodes in the DC animated universe. In some fans' eyes, it fundamentally misunderstands what Batman Beyond was supposed to mean, that anyone can turn their life around and become a force for good. Now, obviously, I can't talk about this episode without spoiling the big change. But you know, this episode is over 20 years old now, so I'd like to think that if anyone really cared about spoilers, then they would have watched it by now. But if you are particularly averse to the spoiler, here is your warning. So the main complaint is that Epilogue ruins Batman Beyond by revealing Terry is Bruce's biological son. The man he thought was his father, Warren McGinnis, unknowingly had his reproductive DNA altered to match Bruce Wayne's as part of Amanda Waller's project Batman Beyond to create the next Batman. And to be clear, Terry is not Batman's clone, as some people claim. That's literally not how biology works, and I can't believe I even have to say that, but that's an entirely separate matter. Essentially, the complaint is that Terry's story is undermined by the fact that he is Batman's son. Not only is this contrived, although to be fair, have they read many comic books? This kind of thing happens all the time. But it undermines Batman Beyond's message of redemption. Now, to be clear, I do agree that it changes the meaning of Batman Beyond, but the new message is just as powerful and, actually, a more thematically rich ending for the DC animated universe. Or it would have been if Justice League Unlimited hadn't been unexpectedly renewed for another season. Batman Beyond was initially about support, mentorship, and self-improvement, but Epilogue reframes the story into one about legacy, inheritance, and choice. Because ultimately Terry McGinnis does the one thing Bruce Wayne never could. He chooses happiness. When Terry learns the truth about his conception, he despairs, saying that he's cursed to become a copy of Bruce Wayne. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Instead, Terry overcomes his anxiety and makes a conscious decision to be a better person and live a happier life. And this is perfectly in keeping with Batman Beyond. Terry was never presented as Bruce Wayne 2.0. For a start, he wasn't what you might call academically gifted, but he has a good heart. He's short-tempered and impulsive, but at the same time he could be optimistic and emotionally open. A great example of this is how Terry and Bruce reacted to the return of Mr. Freeze. After his mind was transferred to a new body and he tried to turn his life around, Terry cheered him on, confident that he had changed for good. Bruce, meanwhile, notes that it's a cold wind that blows through the Freeze household, and he expects him to revert to his old ways. And the funny thing was that they were both right. But you can hear more about that in a separate video I made about his episode Meltdown, linked to in the info button, so add that to your watch later list if the subject interests you. The most important thing is that Terry is a compassionate young man who protects strangers from bullies. He openly expresses his feelings, both positive and negative, in a way that Bruce Wayne could only dream of. Similarly, he believes in the power of redemption because he himself wants to be redeemed. He had gotten into some minor issues as a teen and spent some time in a juvenile detention center. He notes that he was at risk of becoming exactly the kind of slimeball that Batman wouldn't waste a second punch on. But his collaboration with Bruce Wayne, becoming the next Batman, saved him. If he can change, so can anyone. Additionally, Terry tries to live a normal life, well, as normal as he can, while still being Batman. He has friends, family, and hobbies. Compare this with Bruce Wayne, who, when we first see him in Batman Beyond, is isolated in his home with only grumpy old Ace for company. By this point in his life, Bruce had pushed away everyone he ever cared about and viewed being Batman as a burden. Bruce and Terry are shaped by the same idea of responsibility, but they arrive at opposite conclusions about what it costs you as a person. For Terry, it was a responsibility and something he was proud of. Batman Beyond argued that greatness is not inherited, it's cultivated through guidance, hardship, and choice. So you can probably see why some viewers felt like Epilogue undermined that message. They argue that Terry no longer has a choice in being Batman. It has become a destiny because of who his father is. And to be clear, I do understand why that reveal frustrated them. Part of what made Terry compelling was the idea that Batman could come from anywhere. And initially, Terry feels the same way. He feels violated by this information and despairs at the fact that his life was scripted. Most of all, he feels stupid for ever believing he had a chance. In a way, Terry's reaction mirrors that of some of the audience, but unlike the detractors, Terry has an important realization. Throughout the episode, we're shown a series of black and white flashbacks showing how, after learning this information, Terry goes about dismantling his life. He lashes out at an elderly Bruce. He breaks up with his longtime girlfriend Dana, and he quits the Justice League. But a really crucial point to make is that these flashbacks don't actually happen. They exist within Terry's mind. Note that the actual flashbacks in the episode, when Amanda Waller explains her scheme, are all in colour. They are all conversations Terry imagines having while he's angry. I think most people are probably aware of this by now because I've mentioned it plenty of times. But if you don't agree, just know that the episode's director Dan Rieber confirmed this was the case. Now, these scenes are important because they show us Terry's initial reaction. He's angry and he's hurt. His instinctive reaction is to push people away, just like Bruce Wayne. And that's what he's really upset about. It's not so much that he's Bruce Wayne's son, although that was very shocking, I'm sure. It was more that he starts to think that he is emotionally incapable of happiness like his father. In Terry's mind, learning the truth means there's only one possible future left for him: isolation. However, Amanda Waller pushes back on that idea. She notes that he's not a carbon copy of Batman, despite how much she wishes that was the case. He really is his own man. He isn't as smart as Bruce Wayne, but he's far more emotionally intelligent and has a good heart. Now, you may find it strange that one of the Justice League's biggest detractors, Amanda Waller, would go ahead and try to create a new Batman, but she notes that over time she grew to respect the League and Batman in particular. She recounts a memorable incident where Ace from the Royal Flush Gang, a former prisoner of her Cadmus group, had developed new reality-altering powers. These powers were so strong that they were going to kill her, and if she didn't undo everything she'd done, the aneurysm would cause a psychic backlash so strong that it'd kill thousands of people. Waller's solution was fairly simple: kill Ace before that can happen, and Batman offers to do it because Ace knows and trusts him. And this is something I covered extensively in another video, which I'll link to in the info button, but the quick summary is that Batman saw something of himself in Ace. They both had their childhoods taken away from them and were both doomed. Rather than killing her though, Batman sits with her and holds her hand until she dies. As she peacefully passes away, the illusions fade and everyone is safe. When Waller initially shared her solution, Hawkgirl had offered to do the deed, just as she had done with Solomon Grundy. But Batman's act of kindness and his compassion got through to Waller. She realised that the world didn't need more superheroes, what it needed was Batman. As Batman got older, he got slower and sloppier, and one day he had to stop being Batman completely. But Waller feared what would happen to the world without him in it. So she tried to recreate the events that made Batman. Government psychologists identified the young couple of Warren and Mary McGinnis as ideal candidates, and she orchestrated a series of events. Warren McGinnis went in for what he believed was a routine flu shot, but it contained nanobots that rewrote his reproductive DNA with Bruce Wayne's genetic material, ensuring that Terry would be born as Bruce Wayne's biological son. When Terry was 8 years old, she arranged for the family to go see a rousing adventure film, a remake of The Grey Ghost, which is fitting because he's Bruce Wayne's favourite, and she planned for his parents to be murdered. However, the assassin, Andrea Beaumont, Bruce Wayne's former fiancée, couldn't bring herself to sully the legacy of the man she once loved. With her plans thwarted and the perfect psychological opportunity to create Batman now gone, Waller gave up. But life had its way of pushing Terry towards that fate. His father was murdered when he was a teenager and he wound up in Bruce Wayne's orbit anyway. And that's the irony. Amanda Waller fundamentally misunderstood who Batman is. She believed that Batman could be recreated through genetics and trauma, but Terry ultimately proves that Batman's defining qualities are emotional, not necessarily biological. Terry inherits Bruce's DNA, his expectations, and his generational trauma, but those aren't key to his identity. Like anyone's child, Terry is a different person to his father. He also gets half his DNA from his mother, let's not forget. Terry openly loves people and chooses to keep them close. He has faith in the power of redemption and people's inherent goodness. As a damaged person himself, Terry believes that everyone deserves at least one more chance so long as they genuinely want to change. His worldview is considerably more open than Bruce Wayne's. And while he does seem to inherit Bruce's emotional self-destruction, he consciously chooses to reject it. When he leaves Amanda Waller and returns to the Batcave, he decides to hold on to the people he values. Rather than pushing Dana away, he plans to propose to her. And there's no argument with Bruce Wayne. Instead, he listens to him and keeps what he knows secret. What I think many people don't necessarily pick up on is that Epilogue is less of an ending for Terry McGinnis and more of Bruce Wayne's ending. And this is the key part. It's the closest thing a man like him can can get to a happy ending. He has lived a long life, much of it on his own, but now he has a strong and capable son to carry on his legacy. And Terry did something he never could. He broke the cycle of trauma. Yes, he is Batman, but being Terry is just as important to him. And rather than being a brooding figure of the night, Bruce now occupies a role similar to his own father figure, Alfred. He even waited up all night and made soup for Terry, just to make sure he at least had some nourishment before going out. Bruce has effectively passed the torch, and now he can rest without being directly involved. In a way, this is his greatest accomplishment. He succeeded in his mission not by erasing all crime, but by helping Terry become a healthier Batman. And I think this is all neatly summed up by one of Amanda Waller's lines, where she urges Terry to take care of the people who you love, or don't. It's your choice. That line completely obliterates the argument that Terry's path to Batman was a destiny. Terry has free will, and genetics are irrelevant compared to choices. Bruce Wayne ultimately pushed away all of the people he cared about: Andrea Beaumont, Lois Lane, Zatanna, Dick Grayson, Selina Kyle, Tim Drake, Barbara Gordon. When he suffered, he chose isolation over company. Terry, meanwhile, chooses love. He proposes to Dana and helps Bruce with his medication, and then heads out to help other people. So yes, Epilogue does alter Batman Beyond's original meaning, but I don't think it destroys it. The original message that anyone can become better with guidance, support, and a genuine desire to be better still exists. I think that the new message, that legacy is avoidable but fate is not, enhances the story. And in the end, Batman's greatest victory was never over the Joker, Darkseid, or any costumed criminal. It was making sure that the next Batman could be happy. Alright, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it, everybody. But before clicking away, stick around to hear what's coming up next. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, leave a comment, tell all your friends about me. And if you really enjoyed the video, do subscribe. I do pay close attention to my channel's analytics, and I know that 70% of my viewers are not subscribed. So what's stopping you? Come on, click that button. I've done like nearly 300 videos about these cartoons. There's plenty there for you to enjoy. Cheap plug time for my book, Rogues Gallery, a book of essays, 22 in fact, about characters seen in Batman the Animated Series, including an exclusive essay about the Condiment King that you will never see in a video. It has a beautiful cover by Batman the Animated Series background painter John Calmette. There's a foreword written by Dan Reber, and a very moving segment from the late Kevin Conroy, in which he talks about life, love, loss, and the immortal soul. He shared these words with me after my grandfather passed away, when I was, very down about it. And these words hit very differently now that he's no longer with us too. Rogues Gallery is available now on Amazon globally. And special thanks to all of my channel members whose names you have seen on this side of the screen, hopefully. Memberships cost $1.99 per month and get you early access to all of my video essays. I release them to members as I finish them, and currently there are about 10 essays that members get to watch before anybody else. Huge thanks to those members, because they help to make these videos possible. Next time, when I return on Friday, I'll continue my march towards the end of my coverage of Beware the Batman by talking about their version of Lieutenant James Gordon and how he learned to stop worrying and cooperate with Batman. And next Monday, it's time to go back to the results of my latest The Batman Villain Poll to talk about their take on Killer Croc. Hope to see you then.